There we go. We are being recorded, so you all get a copy of the recording. And there are a handful of other documents today that we're going to be looking at. As I pull them up, I'm going to share them in the chat box. So you're welcome to grab the links to be able to access these documents. And then with the recorded video at the end, I'll send everybody a copy of those docs as well, so that you have a little bit of redundancy inside of that, and you're able to go through those pieces. I'm a firm believer of not always being the smartest person in the room. In fact, if you can be in a room where you're never the smartest person in the room, you're going to learn a lot more. So I have a few videos lined up for us today to bring you all some outside experience. And as we kind of progress through the next few weeks, we'll have some live agent interviews and those pieces in there too. But I wanted to start off with this letter. So this is an actual email sent from the owner of a large, really well-respected, prominent real estate team to their staff. And they dropped the ball and didn't follow through with what they said they would do for a customer. As a result, the seller canceled their contract after just 1 week, right? So here's the letter. Team, we had a seller cancel after being listed with us for just 1 week. There was not one thing they said that I did not disagree with. I'm embarrassed, disappointed, and not happy. Just so we're clear, most of you have heard this before. When a client hires us, they've done so because they want the best. And they expect just that. Their expectations are extremely high, and rightfully so. At that point, their confidence is at its highest, and our job is to keep it there by doing what we said we would do and communicating often and clearly. You see, a little thing like a sign not showing up when we told them it would causes them to question whether we're too busy or whether they are important to us. It's just a sign to us, but to them, everything is a big deal. This process of selling is the biggest thing going on in their lives. We need to treat it that way. When our sales partners don't go see their home in the first 5 days like they told they would, their confidence in us goes down. When the write-up or the photos are not world-class, we lose credibility. When the client sends an email to the entire team with information that's important to them and to us, and not a single person has the common courtesy or common sense to reply, what does it say? I know this, it doesn't tell them you were important, we care about you, and you chose the right agency. I hope that every person is bothered by this, because if not, you should be looking at whether or not being on the best team in our area. Please be honest with yourself and with me. If you are who I think you are, then this is a valuable lesson, because we just paid $24,000 for it. And learn and realize how important the customer experience is. And we can all focus, learn, and remember. I want each of you to take a minute and reply to this email with a sentence or two, what it looks like to exceed the client experience. So I want to get started today by really looking at that letter, right? How would you feel? How would you feel if you had to write this, right? How would you respond if you were the agent who got that phone call from the client? You know, is there anything that you can do at this point to recover? And then put yourself in this agent's shoes, right? Have you ever dropped the ball even slightly inside of a transaction, right? And what have the consequences of that been? And so the reason why I think this is such a valuable lesson is because today what we're talking about is preparing for all of these occurrences, right? Developing a system that would ensure that these balls don't get dropped, and you're not paying a $24,000 lesson as well, right? So I want to come together for a second, and I want to open up the mics. We've all heard the phrase, the customer is always right. So share with me, if you will, what does that mean to you? What does it mean when you hear the customer is always right?
Oh, this is Tammy. I don't know if you can hear me. Are you able to hear me okay?
Hey, Tammy. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So my thoughts on this are that it feels really cut and dry. Like if the customer is reaching for something, if there's a particular home that they're looking for, if there's a particular experience that they're looking for, trying to meet them with that. If there's ever kickback on anything that I do, like something in this letter is, the letter really resonates for me in all the things that I'm constantly, as a sole owner, trying to cross all those T's and dot all those I's. It's really hard. But if you drop it, you have to own it. And if they call you on it, not being defensive, but just being able to own that, you skipped a step, and being okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Tammy. That's huge, right? Being able to take ownership over what's happening in your business and know that, that, um, that if the ball was dropped, I mean, really that lies with us. Yeah, I see. Jana's got a comment here. She says she agrees that she has a bad taste in her mouth from her home's listing agent and the small things like this, right? She said she would come pick something up and then she'd not show up, right? And to us, it could be small and inconsequential. It's sometimes the equivalent of saying we would call back at 11 and it being noon when we actually make that call. So what else do you think of when you think of the phrase, the customer is always right?
I don't really love that phrase, but
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is expectations. Like, I definitely agree with Tammy that accountability is a huge part of it. And if you just kind of over communicate, you avoid those missed expectations of somebody maybe not vocalizing what they expect. And so then because of that missed opportunity, they now have their own narrative in their head. So you can't correct it or like realign it. I had my realtor. So when I was talking about listing agent, it wasn't my realtor. It was the house we were buying.
Mm.
And my realtor I loved because she would be so nice, but firm with me. Like if I texted her at 9 p.m., she'd be like, Jana, I'll get back to you in the morning. It's like, she would be so nice and say, I'm going to look into this first thing in the morning. I got you.
Right.
I got your
Right.
question. But she was making it clear that like, I also have a life,
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's huge, Jana. You nailed it, right? It's what is their expectation, right? And it's our job to create those expectations and to confirm that we're on the same page about what those deliverables are. On the other side is what's the perception of those deliverables? Is their perception that we, hit, exceeded, or missed those expectations? And so we don't have a lot of control over their perception. The best thing that we can do is make sure that we're super clear on setting whatever the expectation is. And then do what we said we would do, right? Follow through. The old adage, right? Under promise and over deliver. That's exactly where that comes into play. And when we under promise and over deliver, we're ensuring that their perception is that we're meeting or exceeding their expectations.
I was gonna say, when we do that, then we have raving fans, right? And raving fans turn into referrals. Referrals is more business is more money, growth. And I think it truly does come down to the expectations, and then just making sure that you were very clear in what exactly is happening right now and then what comes next.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And we'll talk about that a little more as we start building out this system. But making sure that you're always addressing what comes next as you're ending a communication with a client, right? Because here's the reality. Your clients aren't necessarily looking for an on-demand agent. They don't want you answering. And Jana, you probably didn't want your agent answering that call at 9 o'clock at night, right? However, you needed to have that assurance that you were in good hands, that that was getting taken care of, that the ball wasn't going to be dropped, right? So I love that. I love that. Well, let's take a look at our own business. Take a moment, pull out a piece of paper, whatever you're taking notes on. I want you to think back to your last 5 customers, your last 5 buyers or your last 5 sellers. How do you think they would rate you? Right? On a scale of 1 to 10. How would they answer these questions? How did your agent bring you value? Did they understand and meet your needs? How? How so? Did they exceed your expectations? And how? Would you recommend your agent to others? Why or why not? And how could your agent have improved your experience? Now, if you're lucky like Jana, you have a recent memory of a real estate transaction with not you, the realtor, right? So inside of that transaction, you can really look at, okay, what things did that agent do that I loved and I wanted to bring into my business? And where did that agent miss the mark, right? So if you were ranking each of these on a scale of 1 to 10, like those surveys you take after you visit a restaurant and you get a free cheeseburger next time you come in, right? Anybody else do that? If you were ranking yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, who hit between a 40 and a 50 here? You think your clients would have given you 40 to 50 points. So you got a 8, 9, or 10 on every category. Randall, awesome. Awesome. When you put yourself in your client's shoes, who learned a little bit about maybe a gap in their business? Right. I know when I took a look at my business and really tried to put myself in my client's shoes, I learned about a couple of opportunities, right? I mean, how did I exceed their expectations? Do I ever plan on exceeding somebody's expectations? Or does it just accidentally happen sometimes? Right? And so I think those are some really important pieces to go out as we're building a system in our business, as we're developing a plan. Are we actually planning to exceed their expectations? Right? Which means we have to set that expectation and then jump higher than that bar. Love it. Anybody want to share an aha or something that you saw here about your business?
I will. Mine, I really feel like I provide very good customer service. It's the focus of my business. And how could your agent have improved your experience? Really came down to, for me, implementing more systems around the technology, creating follow-ups, smart plans that just kind of put people on a drip campaign. This is what's coming next, so that they're not only just hearing it from me, they're also getting email communication. And it's not something that I need to physically do every single day. There's things in the transaction that don't change. The inspection will always happen, almost always happen. So mine was more like systematizing it. And also I realized that I don't think I ask my clients enough, what could I have done to improve? How could I have gotten better? And so I'm adding that for sure.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I mean, even though every single transaction we do is different and unique in its own way, there are a lot of consistent pieces from one transaction to the next. And when we can standardize what some of those look like and create systems around it, then we remove the human error. And it's that human error that creates those compounding effects, like in the letter that we read initially, right? All of that was just human error. Somebody, oops, had a bad day and forgot something. And then I don't know if you've seen this, but it always seems to happen to the same client, right? You'll have 8 transactions that go perfectly. And then there's that one where like everything goes wrong, right? We've seen that happen. It happens when you go out to eat too, right? I mean, you can go to that restaurant 25 times and everything's perfect. And on the 26th time, the wait is long, the service is bad, the drinks are wrong, the food is wrong, you don't get a dessert, right? Everything happens. Well, so let's talk a little bit about a system that you can put in place that focuses around the customer experience. And we'll call this the 5S, or the 5-star customer experience system, right? And it revolves around these 5 areas of the transaction, okay, or the experience your client is going to have, okay? You're going to set the expectations. Think about this as a really incredible buyer consultation, right? Where you're diving deep and you're letting them know what it looks like to work with you, and how the communication is going to be, and who they're going to be working with. Is it you who's going to be opening every door and showing every home, or is it a partnership? Are you working on a team, right? You're sharing with them exactly how it looks when they do business with you, and setting those expectations. Then obviously you've earned the right to serve them, to actually take them through the transaction, right? To make sure you're delivering on those promises, that you are communicating the way you said you would. You're showing them homes the way you said you would, right? That what you told them would happen is happening. So you have the opportunity to actually serve your client. Along the way, both throughout the transaction and at the end, you're going to check in and survey your client. And this can happen in a variety of ways, but how are we doing? Right? Are we meeting or exceeding your expectations? And then we're going to actually plan to surpass their expectations. We're going to build our system around setting the expectation here and setting our deliverables here, right? So we are going to build in opportunities to surpass their expectation, to go above and beyond. For some people, this is the awesome closing gift. For some people, this is taking it a step further and offering to host a housewarming party, or any number of ways you can surpass that expectation. Right? This is having a cooler full of cold water when you're showing 6 homes and they're going to need to take a break at some point, right? Today, this is having extra gloves and masks and Clorox wipes and all of that stuff ready to go in your car, right? Johnny on the spot with the hand sanitizer, right? How are we surpassing their expectations? And then the last step in the system is, how do we sustain this relationship? We're going to create repeat and referral business because these are raving fans, right? And we're not going to do this on accident. We'll be purposeful about building this into our system so that time and time again, we're able to turn one piece of business into many over the life of our career. Because when you're delivering a customer experience, it's not about It's not about that one transaction. It's about building a client for life by delivering an experience that they're not going to shop for anywhere else. So how do we do this? I'm going to put some links in the chat box to these tools for you guys. If I can figure out how to do it. I'm running too many things here on my computer, which doesn't surprise me at all. Where's the chat box? There it is. Okay. So what you'll see here in the chat box, I'm going to go ahead and share a different screen. I put some links in the chat box here. Angela, it doesn't surprise you. Thanks so much. I put some links on the chat box here, but here's what you have. There are these really awesome checklists that I want you guys to go through. You'll have access to these. They'll come in the recording email that we send you as well. And let me do this. I'm going to share these with you on just a little bit of a larger scale. So what you have is both a buyer and a seller life cycle. Okay. And so you'll see that it takes you through the different stages inside of the experience. Here's what your buyers and your sellers are going to run into as you're going through. You can customize this. I want this to look like how they're going to buy or sell a home with you. Right? And then you have check boxes for each of those 5 sections. How do you set expectations? How do you serve the client? How do you survey them? How do you surpass their expectations? And how do you sustain the relationship through this piece? And so, as I mentioned, over the coming weeks, we're going to dive into both to all of these sections: set, serve, survey, surpass, and sustain. We're going to dive into these deeper with a lot of ideas, agent interviews, kind of some mastermind pieces. But in the meantime, start looking at your own business and identify what you're doing in each of these areas to hit these metrics, right? And then start thinking of some ideas. As I'm doing a needs analysis with a buyer, an awesome buyer consultation, how am I surpassing their expectations? What am I doing to deliver something unexpected, right? What does that look like? What would make that experience just awesome, better than I told them it would be? So this is kind of your homework assignment. I want you to go ahead and take these. You can grab them out of the chat box, and you can also get them from the email. Go through these with your own business. There we go. Can you guys now see the red screen with the slide deck back on it? Hey, we're winning. I mean, it's only been like 6 months of Zoom, and you know, I figured a thing out. Okay. So walking through all of these sections, from the needs analysis to the home search to what does it look like when they need a vendor, right? Are you connecting them with the sewer scopes, with the inspectors? Do you have your lists ready? How are those formatted? Like, is that all ready to go? And just really dive into your systems to be able to put that together. And then, do you have some tools that allow you? Do you have some tools that allow you to like build this out so that it's replicatable and it's duplicatable? And let's go back actually to the screen really quick. So let's take a look at this is an example of a tool that you could use to be able to do just that, to create the system, to start spelling it out. So this is inside of our KW Command platform, and this is in the opportunities applet. So here's what's awesome about this. You can see inside of my listing, I have different stages in which I'm working with my clients. I'm cultivating that relationship. We're having an appointment to talk about selling their house. They're going active on the market. We'll go under contract, and then eventually we'll hit the closing table. But if I dive into all of these, we can actually, let me go back here. We can actually create checklists. What happens when they're at this stage in my business? So I could add an item. If a part of this, they've raised their hand, we're cultivating that relationship, they're going to sell at some point this year. What does that look like? Am I dropping off an item of value? And am I sending them a CMA? Are we having regular communications, right? What does that look like for that particular client? And then, you know, as we go here and we have an active listing, what happens now? I can build out this checklist, right? I'm sending them an email that has a link of all of the places they can find their house on the internet, right? It's on my website, it's on Realtor and Zillow and all of these other obscure ones, right? So that they can love it. Are we sending them a copy of our virtual tour or our virtual guided tour, right? Where we're videoing ourselves walking through like we were showing a buyer, right? Are we sending them a copy of that so they can share it with their friends and be really proud of their home, which probably looks as good during the listing as it did when they were buying it, right? Let's be real. They don't live this way. So they're going to love to show this off. What are we doing to hit all of those? And so you can build this out so that you have a checklist item for setting the expectation. What does that look like? We get to this point, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen and what's going to come next, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're on the market. You're going to, you know, your showing time app is going to start giving you alerts of upcoming showings. Here's how to expect it. I will touch base with you by the end of the day on Monday to let you know how showings went and to keep you abreast of any offers that are coming in, right? So I can actually create some checklists around that inside of my business, and for every single stage on that checklist there. So really, really handy tool to be able to use something like that. Something similar might be like a Trello board or something if you don't have that command platform. I promise, I almost had this figured out.
Can I say something real quick about
Yeah.
What I found the most beneficial for me in the checklist is that it allows me to not only make sure that each client gets the same level of experience, which is the point of it, it also allows, if I lose an admin or help or bring someone in last second, even for, you know, piecemeal help up to an employee, they know where everyone's at and they know what's next. And that's what I really like about that piece of it, is because it says you do these things and you check them off as you go. And if it's not checked, it hasn't been done.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's super powerful. So if you're in a team environment or you have an admin support, keep this in mind. Your team, your administrative support, they're the one who's going to be delivering the service experience, right? You're really going to be more involved with the sales piece, and your admin's delivering that service experience. Is it the experience you intend for them to deliver? Right. That's a huge piece. When we look at service versus experience, I mean, think about this. You can go just about anywhere and get a meal, right? I mean, you know, I was sharing with y'all, I just had lunch before we had our Zoom, right? So you can go just about anywhere to get a meal, but can you go just about anywhere to get an experience? And if you have a special occasion coming up, what do you plan, right? Do you plan a meal for your anniversary, or are you planning a night out? Right? You want that night out, you want that experience. And when people make a move, when they're in a real estate transaction, well, they're doing that less often usually than they have anniversaries. Right? So do you think they just want the service, or do they want an experience? I mean, this is a big deal for them. So let's open this up. Tell me a little bit about an experience that you had that really exceeded your expectations. Maybe it was a night out. Maybe it was a shopping or a dining experience. Maybe it was a professional experience with your financial advisor or your insurance rep. Who's got a recent example of an experience that exceeded their expectations?
I mean, it's not super recent, but Disney World is a really good example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell me about that. How they exceed your expectations.
So, well, I've been multiple times, but I really love how they are very personable and they go above and beyond with just making you feel comfortable and special. And yeah, it's not just a theme park. And that would have been my expectation, is to ride rides and be miserable. There's actually a whole study about how Disney does things, and they have a lot of money going into how they do it, because it is hot, the lines are long, but that's not what you remember when you leave there. All of the experience is so extraordinary that you remember, like, the haunted mansion, and you remember riding the boat and seeing the silly fake crocodiles, and so in the way that I connect with my clients, I'm trying really hard to because real estate is so hard and it's so emotional. I really feel like if I can help them to remember that the kindness and the holding space and lifting them up and always trying to be positive, and um, the communication, and then also little things like showing up with hot tea, or, how can I make this more comfortable? And trying to keep kind of that Disney idea in my head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and that's the big piece, right? When we have a customer experience, it's not designed by the servicer, right? If this is a real estate experience, we don't get to define what that great experience is. Our clients do, right? They get to tell us whether or not that was award worthy. And it doesn't stop at the end of the transaction. If we do this well, we'll earn a client for a lifetime, right? Now, the average agent is going to meet the client's needs. We're going to get them to the closing table, right? That's what they need. That's what they identified that they need. Or are we going to go deeper, connect with them, and deliver an experience that exceeds their expectations? It's going to be personalized, and it's going to feel like it was just for them. Are we going to not only address any issues they had, but will we be proactive about addressing any issues that may come up? And the key is we have to be intentional about this. You have to have a plan going into it, follow a roadmap. And that's going to be those checklists. Those are going to be what help you design that roadmap, and then create an opportunity for that to be measurable. Are you asking for feedback? Not even just along the transaction, but are you getting surveys at the end so you can use those testimonials to continue to deliver an excellent experience? And so here's a little bit about what actual buyers and sellers said. And let me, here we go, make sure that all of my buttons are on here. What actual buyers and sellers said about their customer experience, and what stood out for them.
if you rate your experience, how do you rate it?
I mean, I thought it was like a 3 out of 5 for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, I mean, in the end, my goal was accomplished, and I got a home which I like, in an area of the city that I wanted to live in, was one of my top choices, but I wasn't really like wowed by the experience.
Don't you think
in
you
any
should have
way.
been? Do you think you should have
I
been?
do. I mean, I very much, I believe strongly in like the experience economy, and like when you talk about, I guess, the millennials or whatever our
Yes.
generation is, I think a lot more is kind of that experience economy, whether it's a product or a service. It's really about the experience that goes along with it. I don't know. That's just what I like, and I just didn't feel like I got anything above and beyond. Like it was, you know, it was satisfactory and it did what it needed to do, but it's like I don't think I would refer her to
And you
any
probably
of
wouldn't
my
use her
friends.
again.
Yeah, and I probably
Yeah.
won't use her again. It just didn't,
It
I guess it didn't match.
It didn't connect.
me. It's like I said earlier, like I need like an eHarmony or like an OkCupid for
Yeah.
real estate to get that match. I feel like she got me the house that I told her I was looking at, as compared to taking what I said and being like, you know what, like I see what you're saying, but I can get you something better. Like I have more experience than you, which she did. I kind of hear what you're saying. Let me see if I can find something that maybe is better for you. It's more like she said, okay, you want me to do a job, I'll do it for you. And she did it for me. But instead of like maybe taking a little bit of initiative to go above and beyond and be like, you know, I know this is, you know, where you say the areas you want to live and maybe the type of place you're looking for, but, you know, have you thought about this? You know, I had previous
So she
clients who
didn't
did this.
push the envelope.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? I think it's really powerful. We're going to have some more snippets like this throughout the next few weeks as we're diving a little deeper into these categories too, of actual buyers and sellers giving their feedback of what they thought of certain things throughout the transaction. So, you know, it eliminates the need for us to guess, right? Is this something that could be valuable? Is this something that people actually want to see or hear or feel from us? So we'll be able to experience some of those pieces too. This isn't a surprise, right? 80% of your revenue is probably going to come from your existing customer base, right? Past clients, repeats, referrals. So we know that it is far less expensive to actually work with a past client to create repeat and referral business than it is to go and find new business every time and every year. Imagine being in business for 20 years and having to start from scratch every January. Right? I think you'd see a lot of people getting out of the business, not wanting to do it anymore. And what could that look like, right? What's the cost of that bad experience if you do deliver one? Research has shown that 25% of customers will switch after just one negative experience. So if one small thing goes wrong in your transaction, 25% of the time you won't get another chance. That repeat and referral business just won't come to you. One small thing or one large thing, right? A single customer could share negative experiences over 300,000 times on social media. That's the power of the amplification of social media. If they share an experience and somebody else shares that experience and they see it and they see it, they've broken that out to a single customer could create over 300,000 negative impressions of your business. 19% would not trust that company again after one bad experience. And 59% of customers say they don't have a relationship with their provider because they've had a bad experience. Isn't that interesting? Well, it leads us right into the truth. Negative customer experiences are shared more than positive ones, but here's the deal. People are looking for a digital experience right now, right? And inside of that digital experience, clients are absolutely open to trying new vendors. They're absolutely open right now to new experiences. And let me make sure I have the right window open here.
While you're doing that, Anna, I heard a long time ago that if you have a negative experience, you're very likely to share it with 10 people. And if you have a positive experience, they're lucky if you share it with one. And when you do this in the digital era, I'm sure that 10 is a lot more now. Anytime you see a post about anything, you'll comment on it. And I know people that have been reluctant, even when starting their careers, to choose Keller Williams because of a bad experience with another Keller Williams agent somewhere in their past, you know, and so it bleeds into other areas also.
It absolutely does. And, you know, it's so interesting because what I'm going to show you now is an excerpt from an interview that recently the president of KWRI did with Google, one of the heads of industry for Google, who oversees the real estate marketing inside of Google. And it was incredibly enlightening. So hold on tight. It's kind of a long video. I think that it's absolutely worth it. You're bound to get a couple of nuggets, and then we're going to come back together and kind of share our ahas and put together that action plan for that system in your business. So here we go.
We know the pandemic has created change. We also know that some of those changes will be lasting, and the pandemic only accelerated the new age of digital because it's empowering so many organizations to offer that. And so you guys have specifically spent a lot of time diving into that, looking at your data, looking at other data. What are you guys seeing just at a high level? What trends are you seeing that we can all go back with and go, that's interesting, now that we know that?
You know, at a very high level, folks in general, we recently actually conducted a survey, quantitative and qualitative, to get some more data here. And of the folks we spoke to, about a third of them told us that they're not going to be comfortable going out in public for the next 12 to 18 months. About the same amount also told us that when they do have to conduct business, they feel a lot more comfortable when there's a contactless option, contactless payment, contactless interaction. So clearly these are some trends that we hadn't necessarily seen in the past that are very important right now, and there are ways to lean into. In the real estate space specifically, I think the stat that's been thrown around a lot, the kind of emerging trend, is this idea of virtual home tours. And certainly as measured by query volume, consumers searching for those types of queries, we've seen about a 400% growth year over year in query volume around that category.
Tell me if I'm tracking right here, but what you're seeing is there's this new shift to creating digital offerings, and organizations who have a digital capability are the ones that are thriving right now. And the organizations that have a buy online or the virtual tours, everything that you do physically, you've got to figure out a way to have that offering done digitally, because there's going to be a cohort of up to a third of the population that even for 12 months, 18 months from now are still going to prefer that until they get all the way safe. And so the organizations that can create those offerings and make people feel safe how they want to engage, whether that's in person or in a digital environment, those are the companies that are going to be able to take advantage of the shift and the new normal post-pandemic. Am I tracking right? That's what your data is telling you?
That's exactly right. And so to quantify this specific opportunity in the real estate space, we're seeing about 15 million leads a month ready to be captured by having a keyword strategy that covers this emerging category of virtual home tours. And some of the specific searches we're seeing in that category: virtual home tours, virtual open houses, virtual tour led by an agent, 3D tours. So lots of, it's a nascent emerging categories.
If you're anything like me, this is what your computer screen looked like.
nascent.
So it's a nascent emerging category. So lots of different ways folks are searching for it, but having coverage there is an opportunity to reach an incremental 15 million folks a month for the foreseeable future.
So I want to be extremely specific here. I think that's a big insight. What you're saying is the trend is showing you that there's going to be demand from consumers who are searching for real estate in a new way now than they were last year, and you think that will be persistent for a while, up to 18 months. And there's 15 million people searching for virtual tours, on-demand online showings. And so if I'm an agent running a business, my campaigns online need to be targeting not just the listing inventory like I've traditionally done, but my call to actions and my value proposition would be, I make it easy for you to do digital and virtual showings. And you're seeing that's going to result in a good return. And there's a lot of untapped market right now in that. Am I hearing that right?
That's right. Yeah. Again, so about 15 million folks a month, that's their entry point right into their in-market process for looking for a home. They're starting with looking for virtual options.
15 million. That's huge. I mean, no one can look up and suggest that behaviors aren't changing. You think about the fact that you have 15 million people on a monthly basis who are drawn towards search terms like virtual or digital or contactless. And every realtor needs to look up right now and then ask the question, what offerings do I have in that ilk?
Yeah, if I was an agent right now, I would audit everything I do. What are my scripts? What's my social presence look like? What do my emails look like? What does my website look like? Am I holding myself out to the world to be relevant in this market? And if the answer is no, then someone in your competition probably is. And we know there's, again, 15 million people just on Google searches alone. But think about all the people that aren't searching on Google, but they're still curious or exploring that space. So there's an aha here, which was going to lean in and make sure we're offering, and we're telling the world we're offering those types of offerings.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop it there for a moment. What do you guys think about that? Have you considered what that client experience looks like in your business, having it be virtual or contactless? What have you added over the past few months that you think is temporary, that maybe you should keep permanently? Or what have you been hesitant to add because you think it's temporary, but you need to go ahead with it because this is here for a little while? Right. I know something that I've seen is huge right now is like virtual walkthroughs, not tours led by, a machine, but an agent actually walking through.
Well, I think that you've got, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This interaction is going to become a whole lot more common forever. 10 years ago, I was doing all REO, and I could do an entire transaction from the day it was assigned to the day I put the money in my bank without ever talking to a human being. It was a horrifying situation. But there are pieces of it that made a whole lot of sense. When I went to a closing, because I always go to the closing, that's what I do. I'm with my client, and the attorney looked at me and said, "Why are you here? Realtors never come to these closings. Why are you here?" I said, "Because I do." She said, "Well, you don't need to. It's all done." And I think that, we're losing the table closing. And I think that's going to be one that just kind of fades away because it really doesn't need to be there.
No. Well, and you know what? We were trending that way anyhow, weren't we, Randall? It was becoming more and more popular and common for buyers and sellers to have different times. And so those face-to-face across the table closings were starting to become fewer and further between. And what we've seen with so many things with this pandemic is that it just forced the envelope, right? It just caused change to happen that would have slowly over time taken place, and I think that's one of them. So, what is that going to look like? What does that closing experience look like that you get to design in a new era? If your clients are sitting in their car for closing, how do you still deliver an experience for them? And I think those are some big pieces. So I'm going to finish off here with some bonus content. This bonus content is going to take us a little over time. And y'all are welcome to stick around for it. If you have to hop off, go on ahead. But I think the rest of this interview here with Google is incredibly enlightening. So I want to share it. We've got about maybe 4 minutes or so left of it. So so here we go.
And when you said to me, you said, I should be going through my email signature and what's on my listing presentation. You said I should make it across the whole platform.
Right. This is the time where we've got to make sure that, again, everyone's curious. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what's actually happening with people trying new brands out. But here's the cliff note. The world's changing, market share is up for grab, and the people that are curious and doing things in a different way have the opportunity to seize the moment.
Well, here's the real question, right? Because you got these 15 million people. They're willing to click on new things, but do those people actually represent potential new customers to a real estate agent?
We actually asked Google this exact question, and let's hear what they said about it. One of the data sets that I found so fascinating when we were talking is you guys are seeing across all the data sets that you guys have, more than half the consumers are choosing new brands right now. It's almost like the world got a reset button, and everything, all the decisions that we used to make and all the normal status quo was so disrupted. There's so much pattern disruption, the appetite to try new things around who's providing the best alternative experiences right now. The appetite to try new brands or new companies or new people is higher than it's ever been. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing there?
Yes, over half, I think 54% of consumers told us that over this time, they have used a company or brand they had not done business with before. And so think about some practical applications. If you have a need for a plumber to come to your home, maybe you had a plumber you've worked with in the past that you've been comfortable with, but they don't have a process in place where it's contactless, where you can pay online, where you won't have to talk to someone or really interact with someone. You're going to choose a different plumber for now. Right, that's going to make you feel safe, that's set up to service you the way you want to be in this environment. And so there's an opportunity there if you have leaned in and you're prepared for this accelerated shift to digital to earn new customers. That said, the complementary statistic we saw was of those 54% of consumers, 80% of them told us they're not necessarily going to continue to use this new company down the road. So it's an opportunity, but there's still an effort you have to make for retention.
That was eye-opening to me, because what that told me was people are open to trying out a new company with a new offering, but for whatever reason, a majority of those companies weren't creating enough value in that new experience to gain a customer. They were only getting a transaction. And so the real opportunity here is to make sure you have the new offering, you're leaning into the market of the moment, you're creating the value that consumers need, and you're able to talk to the consumer how they want to be talked to, where they want to be spoken to, and the way they want to be spoken to. And that then creating a new complete customer value in that new world order that makes sure they still stay a customer for life.
Okay, so tune in here, because this is when I heard this, everything stopped for me. You think about this number, this 54% number of people that are willing to try a new service provider.
The way I actually think about that helps me illuminate that is take your database, everyone in your database, your past clients, your future clients, your family, and cut it right down the middle. And half of those people are up for someone else. They're 54% likely to go try someone else, which means if you're not reimagining your business right now, you're not pouring into those people, you're not making the calls, someone else is, and you're in jeopardy because of this moment.
And I think everyone can relate to it. I mean, ask yourself, how many of you, raise your hand at home right now, if you've tried a new service or you've tried a new online ordering thing, if you've tried anything new as far as a company perspective since COVID began? For me, the answer is yes. I think for a lot of other people, the answer is yes too. But then you add in the second fact, which is just because we're willing to try something new, that's no guarantee that we stay with the new provider.
It's also an opportunity. So whether you're a new agent who's trying to get market share, or you're an experienced agent who's trying to fortify your business and get market share, the world has never been down to this level playing field. everyone's up for grab. Everyone's up for right now trying something different. And who can be that service provider of the moment? If you're a plumber, if you're no matter what your profession is, real estate's no different. And the data with Google and with Facebook is very clear on this. So here's the takeaway. Here's the insight. Go back and ask yourself, what are you doing different right now than you were doing 6 months ago? And that list isn't compelling, then maybe your competitor has an advantage on you. And how can you reimagine that down from the listing consultation, the buying consultation, the showings, writing offers, talking through those? How can you do that in this moment to make everyone feel safe, comfortable, but also let them know you're the realtor for them?
So,
and so that's exactly where we're at for this customer experience, right? How are we reimagining what it looks like? So in the email, you guys are going to get those checklists that you can use to do an audit of your business. Start preparing your systems, right? If you were inspired enough from this to build out your entire customer experience system, then more power to you. Like, that is awesome. And you're welcome to join us. So on Thursdays for the next few weeks, we're going to be diving into those different sections of that 5S model. And inside of those sections, we're going to be bringing some different ideas. We're going to be doing some masterminding. We're going to be interviewing some agents. We're going to be spotlighting some client videos about what they expect inside the experience, so you can start to really build those out. In the meantime, I'm open and available to having kind of some one-on-one conversations. So if you're feeling just a little bit, maybe lost or overwhelmed, and you want to, really dial this down, I'd be happy to schedule some consulting time with you to help you kind of put that system in place and get your foundation started. In the meantime, however, we'll wrap up with any closing thoughts, takeaways, or ahas.
Just thank you, Anna. I'm really excited about this because this is pivotal in our businesses when we can connect with people this way. So thank you.
I love it, Tammy. It is my pleasure. I think we're going to have a real fun journey building this out together and bringing more and more some stellar ideas into your guys' businesses, so you can really deliver that experience. Here's the deal, right? Everybody's up for grabs. This is your opportunity to take a lot of market share by delivering what other agents just simply won't do.
Thank you, Anna. This is so good, and just kind of pushes us, anyway, it pushes me into a more technological arena that I'm not always 100% comfortable with. So this is great. And I know there's a giant need for it. And I need to get more savvy at it. And so I really appreciate these webinars that you're going to be having here. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I miss your face, and I'm missing it right now too.
You know what? My screen, if I turn it around, it unplugs in a way that I don't want it to. Let me see. Hi. I got to turn it. But I'm here.
Oh, I love it so much. Well, y'all are absolutely welcome to be our guest for this, and I look forward to collaborating and masterminding about how we can do this. And let's go do it. Let's go do what others won't, because we care that much about our people. So awesome. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. We'll see you next week. I think we're at 1 o'clock next week. The time's going to kind of vary, so keep an eye on your email for those invites, but it should be on Thursdays for the next few weeks. So I look forward to seeing you all, and we'll have this recording out pretty soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Anna.
Take care, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.